everybody. Michael here from Guitargate again, and I'm here with my friend Frankie G in Baltimore. And you are one of the busiest guitar players in town, and you play in like every band. And I feel like even the bands you don't play in now, every time I talk to someone in a band, it's like, oh, Frankie used to play guitar in that band. So tell us about kind of what you're doing around town and kind of what you're into, man.
Well, doing a lot of gigs, honestly. Yeah. A gig 5, sometimes 6 nights a week.
Yeah.
Depending on the week. And, you know, I play with a host of great artists. Playing with Richie Fields, who's a great modern country singer.
Yeah, we'll be sure to tag Richie in there too.
Classified Frequency, which is an original project, which is kind of like Cheap Trick meets Butch Walker meets the Brecker Brothers. Like
really?
It's these really big pop hooks and out there solo sections. It's really neat. Matt Berry, who actually plays bass with me a lot.
And he also plays guitar, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a killer guitar player.
Yeah.
He's the singer and songwriter in that band. Plays lead guitar. And I sit back and play guitar and synth. So.
Gotcha, dude. It's so wild. Like, you know this, man. When you gig all the time, you never get to see other bands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you make that description. Like, I really want to come check you guys out. It sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah,
it's a blast. I mean, we have a good time. The band itself, like all the musicians, Matt Everhart,
Matt's great, dude.
Yeah. Sweetheart of a person, an amazing bass player.
Dude, he's a big time bass player.
And Andy Hamburger, who's a phenomenal drummer. He's a big session
I actually
guy.
don't know him.
You should. I'll introduce you guys.
Fair enough.
He's got his little quirks that he always brings this old school bell, like from an old abandoned schoolhouse.
Really?
That he likes to add into songs randomly.
Gotcha.
It's a lot of fun.
Cool. Well, dude, thanks for coming over, and you got a great sound, man.
Thank you so much. So do you. I love this little Mesa comp.
Dude, yeah, the Mesa 525. You know, a friend of mine kind of found this for me in a warehouse, and I'd never played one before, and I bought it, and I just decided to keep it, and I sold all my other stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I have this, and then I gig with the PRS Sanzera.
Which is phenomenal. Yeah.
Which is really a good amp.
Yeah, especially for the price point. You get a tube amp that inexpensive, and it's super reliable and big tone.
Yeah, for sure. Well, on the subject of gear, so everybody always wants to see what other people gig with. Let's talk about your stuff. You got some stuff I'm sure a lot of people on here haven't seen, especially this East amp.
Yeah.
So why don't you talk about that? Because anybody outside of Maryland and Baltimore probably has no idea what that is.
So, these are built in Maryland by Jeff Bober, which you probably know Jeff.
Yeah, and we'll be sure to tag East too, so you guys can check it out.
And he's also a phenomenal guitar player. And but I've known Jeff since I was in high school. I had an old PV Classic 50, one of those Tweed 410 things that I was playing with the Bel Air Community Jazz Band.
Oh, there you go.
And it caught fire.
No, it didn't. During a gig?
Yeah, so those amps have like a little fan to keep the tubes cool. Well, that fan seized up.
Of course.
So, but I knew the guys from the band Never Never, and they hooked me up with Jeff, and Jeff he took care of me, and then told me about his amps that he made when he was with Buddha, and then we had our long-lasting friendship from there, and he told me about the East stuff, and I was blown away.
So he used to be with Buddha.
Yep.
And then left and started East.
Yeah.
And so is this a single channel Class A? I've actually never played one, believe it.
You know, this amp's actually kind of...
What's the deal with it?
This is kind of unique. So he's normally a single channel guy, like vintage voicings, but this is his 2-channel. That's, you have independent master on each one.
Right. And
then a volume on gain on each channel. And it's super versatile. So, like, you get this nice, clean sound. This Abe switch right here is pretty cool because it changes where your mid-range lies.
Really?
So, East...
Let's hear some.
...is your, it's his own voicing. The B, get your famous British sounds that pushed high-mid thing. And then the A is your American, so like, all the blackface stuff and the California sound that we all all love for cleans. So that kind of scoop mid thing. But with that, you know, it's 2 channels, so you get, that's the clean side, which if you push it really hard,
right,
it gets this cool, almost plexi-ish kind of thing going on. And then the drive side, just you got all the gain on tap. So this is no pedals.
I was going to say, so when you use that, do you actually reach back and flick the switch, or you just basically not use it?
Depends on the gig and which pedal board I have for the occasion.
Fair enough, but you have a foot switch for it?
But yeah, it has a foot switch. It's a 2-button foot switch that does the channels and this FET drive, which I'll get into in a second.
Okay.
But, you know.
Yeah, you can crank. Let's hear it. That sounds fantastic.
So that's his E setting. This is where the Ape switch really comes into play with gain more so than the cleans. And you can really hear the harmonics in a recording better. So here's the British setting, that push mid. And
hell yeah.
The American, that kind of scoop thing. Now,
I'm impressed.
Yeah, and this is only the 20 watt, and I'm barely on. So
right.
There's plenty of headroom in this thing to play over a drummer with no problem whatsoever, and it gets super quiet too and keeps the tone because you can drive your pre and power section here and control your output post here. So this FET driver is really cool. I use this for a boost in gain and just for leads, cleans, whatever. So here's without the boost. We'll go back to these. So it adds a little bit more gain, a little bit more volume. You know, it's about halfway up for that boost.
Yeah.
And it reacts great with the clean side too, so clean, bypass. So it adds a little bit of compression on the top and, you know, yeah, really brings those notes out. So
I gotta tell you, man, I haven't had an amp come in here sound that good in a while.
Oh, thanks, man.
And I know it's your guitar and your hands and stuff too, but that sounds really good.
Yeah, and you know it's funny because I have his older series, the Club series, which is the 1-channel. He sets this 1-channel. I use it as a 2-channel because it has a gain master boost, but I don't play with a ton of gain, and that's something that. When I have friends sit in on my rig, they're like, "Where's your distortion?"
Right.
It's on. You're on the highest gain setting.
Right.
You know.
I love that.
But you know, I like it because it makes me work harder for the notes. But
absolutely.
But this amp, there's all the gain is there. All the gain that you could ever want is in this amp. But this is the smaller cabinet. This is called the Minut Series from Jeff. And the normal cabinet stands a little bit taller and a little bit wider.
Okay.
But for a grab and go, this is...
Do you have any idea what these things go for? And people buy them directly from him, or they one-off builds?
Yeah, they buy them directly from him. He has a couple dealers. Actually, Ryan Fowler.
He's a dealer?
He's a dealer.
Excellent.
Yeah. I think they go for about $2,200.
What those things go, yeah, the boutique stuff go for.
Starting point, and then he has like a 40, 50, a 30, 40, and 50 watt with different tube configurations. So this is like your EL84, the 30s, 4 EL84s, then you get to 6V6, and I think KT88s. So like,
gotcha.
It's big boy stuff when it gets to the higher wattage.
That's phenomenal. Any of you guys out there want to try one of these or buy one, make sure you go to Ryan Fowler and tell him you came from Guitar Gate, and you'll get 10% off and free shipping.
Oh, that's awesome.
Dude, he's great, man. Yeah, so we got together and we were like, hey, man, people buy where they learn in person. Maybe they should do that online.
Right, yeah.
Right? And so he's been super cool. He's like, hey, I'll even do free shipping on used gear. And no one does that.
Killer.
Dude, yeah.
And he always gets the coolest used stuff.
He gets, he gets the coolest used gear. And I tell everybody, he's got the best pedal selection of, anywhere that I've been. He's got all kinds of cool stuff.
He's I think he's the only Strymon dealer in Maryland. Something like that.
I don't know, but I'm sure that that's true.
It's he's definitely got some boutique and just overall coolness going on in there.
Yeah. If you guys haven't checked it out, go to RyanFowlersGuitarExperience.com. All right, well, let's play a little more before we get into your board and your guitar. Why don't you pick some other kind of different sound you want to do? It's your world, man. Awesome. You caught me off guard with that one, but that is a cool tune, man.
That's a lot of fun.
Dude, and, I love all that wild stuff, dude. That is super cool. I love it when you take something that seems like complex like that and you just say, screw it, I'm just going to take some chances over it.
Right, yeah.
Dude, I love that wild stuff you were doing, man.
It's, you know, I'm ever the student, you know, and it's taken me some time to get used to getting out of that box, because when I do sessions or something like that, it's always play it safe. Play for the song.
Right. But when you're getting paid,
yeah,
you have to do that for the most part.
And, you know, I can do like one of those shredding solos, whatever, you know, and do all the tricks, like, you know, all the sweeps and bleeps and the creeps, you know, and, or just lay back and play 3 notes in a solo. But I've been watching a lot of different guitar players I really respect that go way outside of the box. And I actually had the opportunity to take a lesson with Sean Tubbs.
I don't know him.
He plays guitar for Carrie Underwood.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Super nice guy, super talented guitar player. But kind of, you know, he's like, his demos that he does for different pedal companies, there's all this crazy out there stuff going on.
Yeah. And
I could sit and learn his licks and everything. And we had a nice conversation.
How much of that does he use with Carrie?
None.
Because he's a pro.
He just plays to the record, and
right.
You know, he's just so good and got me into this mindset of pick a couple notes. You know, pick 2 or 3 notes that are slightly out, slide in and out of those notes into your target tones.
I'll tell you what, man. You know, I was going to jump right into your guitar, but let's dig deeper in this. Being that this is like an education channel, why don't you play a little example of that? So why don't you give me like 2 chords or something and I'll vamp for you. Or you can do a loop if you have one and kind of show what you're talking about so people have a takeaway.
Let's just do something on B minor. Let's just use a B minor chord. Stay there.
Sure. 2, 3.
So most guitar players would go to that minor pentatonic.
Right.
Adding the 6 is always good.
I love that though. I love that.
Yeah, and because I went to Berkeley and
did you? I didn't know that.
Did the whole music school thing. I didn't finish like most people that go to Berkeley.
Is that true? Can you say most?
A lot. I would say a vast majority. I wanted to go because I was a big Steve Vai Dream Theater. And they, Steve Vai got an honorary degree.
That's the spot.
He left. He was there for like 2 weeks?
I have
something
no
like
idea.
that before he went to Frank Zappa's band.
Is that true?
Yeah. And he was hired to transcribe for Frank Zappa at 17 or 18.
That is unbelievable. Truthfully, just to be able to transcribe that stuff anyway. So to do it at 17.
A lot of notes.
I can't even. And that's pre-internet.
Yeah.
So is he doing that off records?
Off of records and
it's insane.
Probably cassettes at some point. I would say late 70s maybe cassettes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that guy he's a technician. He knows his ears are so good.
Yeah. And
he's got such a knack for it.
Yeah, and just being able to write it down too and just get it, because all the little things are a little out of time, a little out of tune, the semi-bends and all that. So to be able to notate all that and pick it up by ear and get it right, that's some next level musicianship.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
All right, cool. Well, that was a great takeaway for people, something to work on. Now let's talk about your guitar.
Okay.
So you always been a PRS guy? Is that a recent thing?
I have been using. I got my first PRS when I was probably 19 years old. It was before the big lawsuit with Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
It was a single cut, silver sparkle, because I was a big Silverchair fan.
Gotcha.
And I was one of that platinum metallic guitar that Daniel Johns played in the Abuse Me video. I was like, that looks awesome. I put it down for a little bit because I got really into my Strats and Tellys again.
Yeah.
I've had Les Pauls, SGs, some Framus guitars over the years that have been really cool. Strats were always my home, and I couldn't find the PRS for me. For me, the pickups that came in the custom 24s or 22s were just a little too mid-rangey. And being young and not really getting into that whole idea of swapping pickups out.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking I should be able to buy a guitar and play it, and that's what it is.
Right. What a concept.
Yeah. But they play, I never had an issue with the way they played. They always played great, but I just couldn't get, especially for me in high school, the sound that everyone was getting was that triple rectifier and a PRS.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't get on board. I didn't want to be part of the pack with that. I wanted to break away. And several years later, I went back to my PRSs, and I was just like, man, these feel and sound so good. Mm-hmm. When I swapped pickups out and everything. And then I came across this.
I was going to say, is that original? Did you swap those out?
This is, except for the bridge, everything's stock.
So what model is this?
This is the David Grissom model.
Nice.
I bought it initially because the neck just felt between my Strat and my Telly. And so I picked it up and it instantly felt like home.
And you know what? That's the number one advice I give to people picking up a guitar. Even if you are a total beginner and you don't really know how to play, you can pick up a neck right away and you'd be like, oh, it's too fat, it's a baseball bat.
Right.
It's too thin, it's a toy. Feel first over brand, over pickups, over anything.
Absolutely. And then even resonation, how a guitar resonates.
Sure. And two of the same model, especially with Fenders. It's less so with Gibson, and I feel like it's almost never happens with PRSs. But you can get literally the same model, same year, and they'll ring different.
Absolutely.
PRS, I feel like, is really tight on their quality control.
From the American-made stuff to the SE,
mm-hmm.
they are my highest recommendation for any player starting. Spend a little bit more money on the guitar. Yeah. Spend $500 on a SE standard, I think, is what they go for.
Are they that? I don't know. Maybe I thought they were $700, but I'm sure you know. I don't know.
But if you spend a little bit more on a guitar that plays well, you're going to be more inspired to play versus buying, a Strat pack or something.
Don't buy a Strat pack.
That the action's way off. You can't keep it in tune.
I don't care if anybody from Fender's watching. Don't buy a Strat pack.
But
spend the extra money.
Yeah,
Seriously.
And then those little practice amps, like Blackstar makes this little practice amp that sounds amazing.
Does it? I don't know.
For like $50-$60, it's a battery powered amp.
Really?
And I've used it on sessions.
No, you haven't.
Yeah.
You haven't used a battery-powered Blackstar on sessions.
Absolutely,
Get the F out. When you got stuff like this?
It's, this is great for 99% of the stuff.
But sometimes I need that battery-powered...
And it actually sounded and reacted like a tube amp. Like,
Get out.
there's a solo I did for an artist named Wally Worsley recently that it starts out as a low gain thing and the gain comes up. It's that amp. And it starts with my volume rolled halfway down, going into the solo, and bringing the volume up.
It breaks up, just like a regular tube would do. That's all. Now,
And,
how much studio work do you do in general compared to just gigging?
It varies. Sometimes I'm slammed, sometimes not so much.
Now, do you have a home studio, or do you generally go somewhere?
That's the great thing with the internet is I'm able to do sessions from all over the world.
Dude, it's awesome.
And I've been very fortunate in that, and was able to put a nice studio together that sounds great. I know my room really well, and with all the amp modeling now.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not going to get too far into that.
Yeah, no, you're good. We'll get back to playing, and then we'll talk about your pedal board. But is there anything else about the guitar that you haven't mentioned that you changed? Or So,
I do a lot of the higher gun thing, and I need a guitar that can kind of go everywhere. This guitar, I'm able to get Strat-ish kind of sounds, Les Paul,
Does that have the coil taps?
It does. The way that this guitar used to be configured was a volume just for the bridge, volume for the neck, and a master tone with a coil split. But I did a couple gigs with a band called Cowboy Mouth,
and then
playing with Richie too. A lot of the modern country stuff is so layered. There's 20 guitar tracks. It seems like. So with this, normally I have an XY or a Y cable that comes out,
right?
Because it's a TRS jack. But I put a piezo bridge in it.
Really?
So
you got everything.
Yeah. So
let's hear some.
It's not going to sound too great through an amp.
That's all right.
But it's a pretty convincing guitar, acoustic guitar, especially in the mix. Plus, you can dive bomb on it. You can't dive bomb them on normal acoustics.
Isn't that the truth? All right, let's play one more, and then we'll dig into your pedal board here for a second. Awesome. All right, so let's talk about all these pedals here. I'm gonna stand up and grab the camera so people can see it real quick, and then we'll kind of talk through it. Awesome, dude. Awesome.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. So, what you got here, brother?
So, I needed a small board for runaround gigs, you know. It's definitely a way scaled down version of what I normally use.
Right.
The all-important volume pedal and tuner. The direct drive by Barber, so I get all the Marshall-y kind of, you know, mid to high gain sounds.
Sure.
This pedal by DoD is really cool. It has a low and a high gain setting. You can adjust the frequency from the input, so like it has an input buffer for single coils or humbuckers, and just gets this nice, as well as a boost, but also just takes a clean sound, kind of makes it a little bit more present. So that's with a little dirt on it.
Yeah. That's kind of like that EP booster I have over there. Yeah.
Those things are great.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. These little things right here, people that are watching, that's the best pedal I've ever purchased.
Yeah.
In my opinion, now, I'm not generally a pedal guy, so like that's not really like saying much, but I love that thing, dude. I really, and everybody I know that's played one of those says the same thing.
Yeah, they're kind of a life force on a lot of pedal boards, especially when you start running all the cable. There's all kinds of stuff that can go wrong with your tone.
Oh,
you start
yeah.
to lose signal. And
For sure. Yeah, well, keep going. Give us some more of those sounds that you have there, and then we'll...
So I got this I've had this pedal since high school, and it's been on and off the board.
And what is that one?
It's the Line 6 MM4.
Mm-hmm.
So it has all the modulation sounds, so all the Leslie... all the trem sounds I need. Univibe.
Yeah. I need a Univibe.
And it does all the out there stuff like ring modulation.
Because you use that all the time.
You know, when I
every gig
play a lot of Incubus, yeah. That's fun to put on solos just randomly.
Hell yeah.
So I get, you know, chorusing, phasers, flangers, you know, whatever I need modulation wise out of that. And then the Nova delay, which is just a clean studio style delay, and does all the anything from the dotted quarter or dotted eighth note delay, like the edge, you know, and that kind of sound.
Yeah, that's right on.
To, you know, if you ever play Flock of Seagulls, you got that,
Yeah.
And if you ever want the reverse sound, if you're doing a lot of Hendrix.
You have a Hendrix reverse sound?
It's also good if you're doing a lot of swells.
Right.
Like if you need just some ambient chords underneath.
That's volume. That's not wah, right?
Right. It's just a volume.
Yeah.
Just makes it big and airy.
Yeah.
And you know, again with tone loss and all the cables that go into it, I was noticing I've been using the Ernie Ball volume pedals for years.
Right.
And was always noticing a little bit of top end drop, you know, when I was going through it. And a buddy of mine turned me on to a pedal maker in Baltimore called Noise Kick Effects.
Okay.
And I don't have any of his pedals on my board, which I normally do.
Mm-hmm.
He does custom work. You know, he made me a compressor that has a clean blend, so you'd never affect your actual signal. But he put a buffer in this, so you know it's a just acts as a nice clean. If that wasn't in there, that top end would be kind of gone.
Right.
So yeah, I highly recommend checking his stuff out too.
Well, make sure we go back and tag him.
Yeah, absolutely, because he's done a lot of custom work for me, and then his own creations are really, really cool. Very, very versatile pedal maker.
Gotcha.
So.
Super cool. Well, I'll tell you what, let's play one more before we call it a wrap here.
All right.
You want to do something using that floaty effect? I heard you do a little bit of, was that Melissa there?
Oh, I was just comping chords.
Doing that whole, you know, but you can pick it up to you, yeah. dude. Well, you sound great, brother. It's great to finally get an opportunity to play with you, man.
That's a blast, man.
And
thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming over. And this is Frankie G, everybody. And why don't you tell them where they can find you? You have a website, any links? We'll obviously go back and tag.
I do, yeah. FrankGrocholski.com. It's a long one, so I'll make sure it gets up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that has the links to all the different bands I play with, and
that's the best. And I tagged you here on Facebook, so people on your Facebook page.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Michael.
Awesome.
You sounded great, too. It was a blast playing.
Dude, it's excellent. Yeah, I really appreciate it, man.
It's hard to consider that we call this work. Yeah,
dude,
it's hard to believe.
This is the power of the internet, man. This is fantastic.
We get to play guitar all day.
We get paid to play guitar all day. It's ridiculous. Honestly, I really can't believe that that's reality.
Yeah.
I really can't. Anyhow, thank you guys so much. Thank you again for coming over. And for everybody that's a subscriber on the site, I'll be live tonight at 10 p.m. Make sure you go to Ryan Fowler's site if you want to check out these East amps and get a discount on them. And any other questions, just feel free to email support@guitargate.com. And I'll see you next time.
All right.
Take care, brother.
Thanks.